Hey, what's happening, YouTube fam? I want to welcome you to the Lil J Show. Of course, I am Lil J. I hope everybody is having a wonderful and blessed day today. I hope it is absolutely amazing for you guys. Uh, First of all, I'm going to say rest in peace to these kids. This is a really terrible, tragic situation. Um, and the only reason why I'm really actually doing a video on this here is because the lady was just sentenced last year, and I believe she did this around 2014. And you know, I kind of feel bad for the kid's father. He was really going through it during this whole process. Um, but I wanted to bring it to the light. I'm pretty sure maybe some people have seen this on YouTube, but I just want to bring it to you. If you haven't seen it, here's a little bit of what happened and the reasons why they saying she did it. Mental illness is a real thing, and I guess back then, with I guess a few years, maybe like 9 8 9 years ago, they wasn't taking it as serious as they are now. But anyways, let's watch this video and we'll chop it up on the other side. Let's go.
Atlanta 911, operator 7054. What's the address of your neighborhood?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I have a question, and this is a serious matter. I just left my cousin in the house with my kids. She just left my kids in the house when I came back from work, and two of my kids are dead.
A community is in mourning after a shocking crime against children. A Georgia mother is charged with 2 counts of murder after police say she put her 2 young sons in the oven and turned it on. The bodies of 1-year-old Jacarter Penn and 2-year-old Kayunti Penn were found in their apartment over the weekend. Police say they had burns on their bodies and arrested their mother, 24-year-old Lamora Williams. Her family members say she had mental health problems and would often leave the children alone in the apartment. The children's father set up a GoFundMe account saying he wants to prevent other children from being hurt.
A Georgia mother intentionally killed her 2 children by placing them in the oven and turning it on for 45 minutes. When their father Jamil Penn came home, he smelled baking and thought it was his wife cooking, but when he stepped into the kitchen,
So that's not true. She did put them in the oven, but he didn't come home. She like FaceTimed him and showed him the kitchen area, and it was like really. They believe they said it was like a bunch of blood and stuff everywhere. So he did not come home and smell anything. She FaceTimed him and showed him this.
saw the unimaginable. 2 of his young kids were in the oven, and by the time he pulled them out, but it was already too late. Their bodies unrecognizable after 45 minutes of unimaginable heat. Investigators couldn't even tell which child was which. The horror was beyond anything they'd ever seen. Jamil called 911.
Atlanta 911, operator 3809.
Atlanta, this is Douglas County with a transfer. Go ahead, Jamil.
Hey, I just received a call from my child's mother that 2 of my youngest 2 dead babies, my sons are dead in an apartment.
Okay, there's a lot of background noise. There what in an apartment, sir?
I just received a call that 2 of my kids are dead inside of an apartment.
Okay, did she call 911? What's the address?
No, she didn't call 911. She called me and she video called me and showed me this, and I seen it.
What's the address?
And I really think they are really dead.
What's your name, sir?
My name is Jamil Penn.
Okay.
I want to know if they actually. I want to know if they actually did. Please give me a call. Please give me a call back as soon as possible.
Okay, we'll get a unit out there to check it out, okay?
I'm sorry?
We'll get an officer out there to check it out, okay?
All right.
All right.
When the police arrived, they arrested the children's mother, 24-year-old Lamora Williams. At first, she told police she didn't know what happened. Then she blamed her cousin. Then her sister. Her story kept changing, filled with contradictions and false leads. She was charged with 2 counts of murder, but in court her sister claimed Lamora had suffered from severe behavioral and emotional problems since she was a child and even tried ending her own life at some point.
Police found the 2 boys in an oven October 13th in Williams' apartment in southwest Atlanta. Her family members told us at the time that Williams felt overwhelmed as a single mother of 4.
When I saw that mugshot of her, I knew that was not my little sister.
After an evaluation, it was confirmed that Lamora Williams was cognitively impaired. But was that enough to explain what she did? To justify locking 2 children in an oven? Imagine the blistering heat against their skin, the dry, searing air closing off their lungs, their final moments spent in agony. Today, we cover the story of Lamora Williams, a mother who didn't just fail her children, but became the very monster they needed protection from. And when the truth finally came out, it would reveal something even more disturbing about the mind capable of such evil. Welcome to True Crime Stories HQ, where we dig deep into the cases that expose the darkest corners of human nature.
So I kind of want to give y'all a little bit of a background, on this. So the father, he was actually trying to be in his children's lives, but she was making it difficult for him. She was fighting on him. And, I guess neighbors would be calling the police, and then, he would be the one that was getting in trouble, so he was trying to stay away from her. And she, he really wanted to be in his kids' lives. Like, he was there, he was trying to be there as much as he possibly could. So, and I don't know the deal with maybe him trying to get custody. I don't know nothing. I don't know about that, but I know for sure he was trying to be in his kids' lives. And it was other people that were trying to warn, I guess D facts about her behavior. Like, she wasn't all the way there, and I believe that her own mom was trying to get the children removed from her, get them taken away from her because of the way she was. She just they said that she had lost her father, and then that's what kind of triggered a lot of this stuff. So I just wanted to put that out there. Some people, they may be asking, well, damn, why didn't do this? Why didn't do that? The dude was trying to do what he could, as well as her mother.
If you're ready to confront the uncomfortable truths about the world we live in, hit that subscribe button and join us as we uncover stories that need to be told. On the surface, the Williams family looked like thousands of others across Atlanta. Lamora Williams, 24 years old, trying to make it work as a single mother in southwest Atlanta. 3 young boys depending on her for everything: their meals, their safety, their very lives. 1-year-old Jack Carter, still learning to walk, still discovering the world with wide, trusting eyes. 2-year-old Creant, beginning to form his first real words, reaching for his mother's hand when he was scared or tired. Their older brother, looking up to the woman who was supposed to be their protector, their safe place in a world that could be cruel and unpredictable. This was everyday America. Everyday struggles. A young mother juggling work, bills, and the exhausting demands of raising 3 small children largely on her own. The kind of challenges that millions of families face without tragedy, without violence, without anyone getting hurt. Neighbors saw what everyone expected to see: a tired mother, overwhelmed but trying her best. The sounds of children playing, crying, laughing. The ordinary chaos of family life behind closed doors. But something was building beneath that surface. Something that would transform maternal instinct into its complete opposite. Something that would turn the hands meant to comfort and protect into instruments of unthinkable cruelty. The question isn't just what happened in that Atlanta apartment on October 13th, 2017. The question that haunts investigators, psychologists, and anyone who hears this story is far more disturbing. How does a mother's love become a child's worst nightmare? How does the person who should die to protect her children become the one who kills them instead? When Jamil Penn called 911 that October evening, he was a father in absolute panic. His voice cracked with genuine terror as he begged for help. But when investigators arrived at the Southwest Atlanta apartment, they found something that didn't add up. Lamora Williams was there, crying.
Yeah, I remember him going on the radio when this actually happened. He went on the radio for an interview, and I mean, he was like choked up. He couldn't even hardly talk, man. I mean, what, anybody would be going through that if they lost their children, I mean, he lost two boys, but, I remember seeing that to where, I was hearing it. I was actually at work, and they were interviewing him on the radio, and he couldn't even like get out a complete sentence, man, without breaking down. So I feel bad for this brother.
Claiming she had just discovered her children's bodies. She told police she had been out, that she came home to find them dead in the bedroom. Her story was simple, direct, and according to experienced detectives, completely fabricated. I don't know what happened, she kept repeating. I just found them like this. But the apartment told a different story. Seasoned investigators who had worked hundreds of crime scenes immediately recognized the signs. The positioning of the bodies. The strange, acrid smell that hung in the air like a warning. The way Lamora's timeline didn't match the evidence they were seeing. Detective Sarah Chun had been working homicides for 15 years. She'd seen domestic violence, child abuse, accidents, and deliberate murders. But something about this scene made her stomach turn in a way she'd never experienced before. The smell, she would later testify, wasn't like anything I'd encountered in my career. It wasn't the typical odor of decomposition. It was something else entirely. Something that made you think of cooking, but wrong. Horribly wrong. As investigators pressed Lamora for details, her story began to shift. First, she didn't know who could have done this. Then, maybe it was her cousin who had been by earlier. Wait, no. Perhaps it was her sister who had some kind of grudge. Each lie exposed another. Each inconsistency revealed more deception. The woman who claimed to be a grieving mother couldn't keep her story straight for more than a few minutes at a time. But it was the physical evidence that truly began to unravel her web of lies. The apartment's layout didn't support her claims. The timeline was impossible. And that smell, that horrible, unmistakable smell, led investigators to a discovery that would haunt them for the rest of their careers. The kitchen appliances showed signs of recent use. The oven specifically had been on for an extended period. And when they opened it, they found traces of something that no parent should ever have to see, no investigator should ever have to process. Lamora Williams wasn't just lying about finding her children dead. She was lying about everything. And the truth was so much worse than anyone could have imagined. The medical examiner's report arrived 3 days later, and it contained findings that would forever change how investigators understood the depths of human cruelty. Dr. Michael Rodriguez had performed over 2,000 autopsies in his 20-year career. He had examined victims of car accidents, shootings, stabbings, and every form of violence imaginable. But when he opened the file on Jacques Carter and Kuyant Penn, his hands trembled. Cause of death: hyperthermia and severe thermal injuries. The children hadn't been beaten. They hadn't been suffocated. They hadn't died from typical abuse injuries that medical examiners see in child homicide cases. They had been cooked alive. For 45 minutes, 1-year-old Jacques Carter and 2-year-old Kuyant had been trapped inside an oven set to 350 degrees. The same temperature used to bake cookies for birthday parties. The same appliance that should have prepared meals to nourish and sustain them. But the timeline made it even more horrifying. This wasn't a sudden explosion of rage. This wasn't a momentary loss of control. According to the evidence, the crimes occurred over nearly 2 full days, from midnight on October 12th through the evening of October 13th. 2 days of premeditation. 2 days of looking at those children and planning their deaths. 2 days of deliberate, calculated torture that no temporary insanity could explain. Detective Chun had to excuse herself from the briefing room when the full timeline was revealed. In all my years, she later said, I had never encountered anything that demonstrated such prolonged, deliberate cruelty toward children. The oven, an appliance designed to create comfort food, holiday meals, birthday cakes, had been weaponized in the most perverted way imaginable. Every family gathering, every home-cooked meal, every symbol of domestic warmth had been corrupted by what happened in that Atlanta kitchen. But perhaps the most chilling aspect of the case was what didn't happen. The surviving older brother was in the apartment during this period. He witnessed something that no child should ever see, something that would require years of therapy to process. His survival was the only mercy in a case devoid of any other redemption. When investigators confronted Lamora with the medical evidence, she maintained her innocence. Even faced with undeniable proof of what she had done, she continued to claim someone else was responsible. She suggested her cousin, then her sister, anyone but herself. The disconnect was staggering. A woman who had committed the most calculated, cruel murder in the investigators' experience was still trying to convince them she was the victim. But the evidence was overwhelming. The timeline was clear. The method was undeniable. Lamora Williams had used her own kitchen to torture her children to death, and she was still lying about it. Lamora Williams was arrested on October 13, 2017. The evidence was overwhelming. The case was ironclad. Justice for Jack Carter and Creont Penn seemed certain and swift. But then something happened that nobody expected. Something that would become a second tragedy compounding the first. Nothing. 2018 came and went. No trial. 2019 passed. No trial. Up until 2023, still no trial. For 7 years, Lamora Williams sat in Fulton County Jail while the case crawled through an overburdened legal system. 7 years where the most clear-cut murder case in Georgia's recent history remained officially unresolved. Jamil Penn watched his son's killer remain in legal limbo while he tried to rebuild his life and care for his surviving son. Every court delay was another wound. Every postponement was another betrayal of his dead children's memory. How do you explain to a child that his mother killed his brothers, but the courts can't seem to decide what to do about it? Jamil asked reporters in 2022, 5 years after the murders. How do you get closure when the system won't even try her? The surviving brother was growing up in therapy, trying to process trauma that most adults couldn't comprehend. But officially, according to the courts, his mother hadn't even been convicted of the crimes he witnessed. The legal system's failure to act became part of his ongoing psychological burden. Detective Chun, who had worked tirelessly to build the case, watched her career-defining investigation gather dust in courthouse filing cabinets. "We had everything we needed by November 2017, she said. Every piece of evidence, every witness statement, every expert testimony. The delay wasn't about the strength of the case, it was about the complete dysfunction of the system. Fulton County's court system was drowning in backlogs. Understaffed, underfunded, and overwhelmed, it had become a place where even the most horrific crimes could disappear into bureaucratic quicksand. The Williams case became a symbol of everything wrong with American justice. Not because the evidence was lacking, but because the system couldn't function. Meanwhile, Lamora Williams existed in a strange purgatory. Not free, but not officially convicted. Not executed, but not exonerated. She was living proof that sometimes the most devastating punishment isn't what happens to the guilty. It's what doesn't happen at all. Community activists began using the case as an example of systemic failure. If we can't get justice for 2 babies who were literally cooked alive, with overwhelming evidence and multiple confessions, then what hope do other victims have? Asked Atlanta criminal justice advocate Maria Santos. 7 years. 7 years where Jack Carter and Creont Penn remained officially unavenged. 7 years where their family couldn't move forward. 7 years where the system proved it could fail victims even after catching their killer. But in 2024, something finally changed. The case that had become a symbol of judicial paralysis was finally scheduled for trial. Justice delayed, but not denied. The question was, after 7 years of systemic failure, could the courts finally deliver what these children deserved? October 2024. 7 years after the murders, Lamora Williams finally faced a jury of her peers in Fulton County Superior Court. The weight of those 7 years hung heavy in the courtroom. 7 years of delayed justice. 7 years of a father waiting to hear the words guilty. 7 years of a system that had failed these children in life and in death. Judge Patricia Morrison presided over 2 weeks that would finally determine whether the most clear-cut murder case in Georgia's recent history would result in justice or yet another systemic failure. The prosecution's case was methodical, devastating, and irrefutable. Dr. Rodriguez took the stand again, his voice steady as he explained to 12 strangers what had been done to Jakarta and Kuyant Pen. The jury listened in horrified silence as he detailed the hyperthermia, the thermal injuries, the 45 minutes of unimaginable suffering. When the 911 calls were played in court, several jurors visibly recoiled. They heard Jamil Pen's genuine panic, his desperate pleas for help. Then they heard Lamora's call, the 2 minutes and 20 seconds of silence that spoke louder than any confession. Detective Chin testified about the crime scene, the lies, the shifting stories. Every piece of evidence that had sat gathering dust for 7 years was finally presented to the people who mattered most, the 12 citizens who would decide Lamora's fate. And through it all, Lamora Williams maintained her innocence. Even as the medical evidence was presented, even as the timeline was established beyond any doubt, even as witness after witness testified to her deception, she sat in that courtroom insisting someone else had committed the crime everyone knew she had committed. Her denial wasn't just about avoiding punishment. It was a final insult to her victims' memory, a refusal to acknowledge their suffering, a complete absence of remorse that made every person in that courtroom understand exactly what kind of person could commit such an act. The prosecution presented 14 separate charges: 2 counts of malice murder, 2 counts of felony murder, 2 counts of aggravated assault, 3 counts of cruelty to children in the first degree, 5 counts of cruelty to children in the second degree. 14 different ways for the legal system to say, what you did was unforgivable. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours. Guilty, 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 guilty. 14 times, they validated what everyone had known for 7 years. 14 times, they spoke for Jakarta and Kuyant Pen. 14 times, they said the system could still work, even if it took too long to get there. But the real climax came during sentencing. Judge Morrison looked directly at Lamora Williams as she delivered a sentence that matched the magnitude of her crimes. The court sentences you to life in prison without the possibility of parole, plus 35 additional years. You will never walk free again. You will never have the opportunity to harm another child. You will spend every remaining day of your life thinking about what you did to those 2 innocent babies who trusted you completely. Life without parole, plus 35 years. It was the strongest possible statement the legal system could make. Some crimes are so heinous, so beyond human understanding, that they deserve absolute punishment. After 7 years of delays, 7 years of institutional failure, 7 years of a killer living in limbo, justice had finally been served. Lamora Williams would never again see the outside of a prison cell. The children she murdered would never grow up. But at least now, finally, they could rest in peace. The case of Lamora Williams forces us to confront a truth that most of us don't want to acknowledge. The greatest danger to children doesn't come from strangers in dark alleys or predators online. It comes from the people who are supposed to love them most. Statistics tell us what we don't want to hear, that 80% of child abuse is committed by parents or caregivers. The very people we trust to protect our most vulnerable are sometimes the ones who cause the most harm. Lamora Williams represents the absolute extreme of this betrayal, but she's not an anomaly. She's a reminder of why we can never assume that blood relation equals safety. During her trial, defense attorneys revealed that Lamora had struggled with severe behavioral and emotional problems since childhood. She had attempted suicide. She was cognitively impaired. These aren't excuses for what she did. Nothing can excuse the torture of innocent children. But they are warning signs that our society failed to address before tragedy struck. How many other overwhelmed parents are struggling in silence right now? How many are showing signs of severe mental health crises without receiving adequate intervention? Lamora's case isn't just about one woman's descent into evil. It's about our collective failure to identify and support families in crisis before children pay the ultimate price. The legal system eventually delivered justice, but 7 years is too long for any family to wait. 7 years is too long for a surviving child to live without official closure. 7 years is too long for a community to watch a clear-cut case gather dust in bureaucratic limbo. If we can't prioritize justice for the most vulnerable victims, then our entire system needs fundamental reform. But this story isn't really about Lamora Williams. It's about Jakarta and Kuyant Pen, 2 little boys who deserve to grow up, to learn to read, to play with friends, to experience all the joys that childhood should bring. They were robbed of their futures by the person who should have protected them above all else. If you're struggling with thoughts of harming yourself or others, please reach out. The National Child Abuse Hotline is available 24/7 at 1-800-4-A-CHILD. If you suspect a child is being abused, don't wait for someone else to act. Your call could save a life. The story of these two boys matters because their lives mattered. Justice was delayed, but it was not denied. Lamora Williams will never hurt another child. And somewhere, we have to believe that Jack Carter and Creont Penn can finally rest in peace. Remember to subscribe for more stories that need to be told, and share this video to keep their memory alive. Because the best way to honor victims is to ensure their stories inspire us to protect other children who are still counting on us to keep them safe. This is True Crime Stories HQ, uncovering humanity's darkest truths.
Atlanta 911, operator 7054. What's the address of your name?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I have a question, and this is a serious matter. I just left my cousin in the house with my kids. She just left my kids in the house when I came back from work, and my kids, two of my kids are dead. What do I gotta do? They dead. She left them dead in the house by themselves.
Oh, okay, ma'am. Where are you now?
I'm in my house. She left my door open. My baby boy, my oldest baby boy, is the only one that's here, only one that's alive. She left them in the house by themselves. She left them in here, and they knocked the stove on. Can you listen? When I came in, the stove was laying on my youngest son's head, and my other son was laid out on the floor with his brains laid out on the floor. I don't know what to do. I just came home to work from this. And she just left my baby dead.
Okay, ma'am, I'm gonna get EMS and I'm gonna get police and fire at the location. Can you tell me where you're located?
Ma'am, I can't even talk. This is so serious. I'm so scared. I don't want to get locked up because I was at work.
Okay, ma'am.
I
understand that you're scared. I completely understand, but I need to get some help out there to you now. Can you tell me where you're located?
I understand it, but can you please help me? Like, can you please tell me, like, I don't want to get locked up because this is not my fault. I had just came home from work. Came home from work.
Yes, ma'am.
I just came home from work.
Okay. Ma'am, the first thing that I need to do is get some help out there to you. I understand that you're upset and you're scared.
They've been in here dead. Like, it's no way in the fuck. She left my baby dead.
Okay.
And I don't have no way to reach her.
If you're not sure, if you were at work, ma'am, listen to me. If you were at work while this happened, then the responsibility is going to fall on your sister if that's who you left them with. Okay? Okay, hold on one moment because I'm going to also get EMS on the line as well, okay?
Yes,
Hold
please.
on one moment. Yes, ma'am. Stay on the line with me, though. Hold on one moment for me.
Okay.
Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
When I just came home from work, my babies was stuck in the stove dead, and I just came home from work. My cousin was babysitting my kids and left my kids dead in my house. Ain't no telling how long they've been in this house.
All right, wait. So is your son, is he obviously dead? Is he breathing at all? Can you tell me
he's dead. He's burnt. Both of my children are dead. Their head is burnt. Their skull is laying on this floor. The stove is, one of my babies is stuck. The stove is pulled over and everything.
All right, Elena, can we get PD started to this location? I'm operator 839.
Yes, we have PD and fire already en route to that location.
All right, thank you so much.
Please hurry up, please.
All right, ma'am. I'm en route, okay? We're en route.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right.
Well, there you have it. I mean, this is really terrible. And then the fact that she just lied about the whole thing. I believe they said that when they got there, they could tell that, this happened like hours ago. Like, I believe they said it happened like 11 hours before she called the police or tried to get help for them. it's and then the little the son, the surviving son. Can you imagine him having to sit there and watch his mom do this to his brothers? I mean, that's terrible. I know he's gonna have to. This is gonna be something that he's gonna carry with him for the rest of his life. And they said that he was getting therapy, and I believe he had to testify. He was like 5 when it happened, and when he testified, he was either 9 or 10. He had to relive that whole situation again. So I hope he continues to get the help that he needs. That way he can, go through life normal. I mean, as normal as he can be. Does this? I mean, your mother is doing something like this to your brothers, and you're having to sit there and watch it, man. That's got to be terrible. And I want to say, another thing, like in the 911 call. I mean, she's just worried about herself. Am I gonna get locked up? I mean, come on, man. This is she needed help. She needed help a long time ago. Um, when it happened, the news interviewed her mother and the sister, and they were saying that they have been trying to get defects to remove those children, and they can't just go in there and do it because all she has to do is just call the police and say, "Hey, my mom just walked out of here with my children," and then the mother or the sister could be faced with kidnapping charges. So they couldn't do it. But they had been trying to get the help, get the children removed. So once again, the system failed those children, and it's just a terrible situation. I hate it. Rest in peace to those children, man, and hope the father is able to cope, man. I mean, that's a lot to take on. I feel bad for him. I know, like they said he had a GoFundMe. I don't know if the thing is still up, which of course I'm pretty sure it's not. But he's gonna need some help too as well. But hey, you guys, let me know what y'all think down in the comments. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch y'all on the next one.